good morning, party people. How's it going? Necroduck says, why are you streaming so early? I'm usually up around 2 or 3 in the morning Pacific time, and so then I just stream whenever I have my email and background type work going, all that kind of stuff done. Howdy, DB Augie, Jim Van Allen, a bunch of our regulars inside here. Bombit says, do you have a YouTube channel where I can see all the videos? Man, if there was just only some kind of place that you could go on the web and you could search for things. Maybe some kind of giant place where we could go and find things. We could maybe call it a search engine, and you could put in terms and you could go find the terms that you are looking for. It's always amazing to me who's like, oh, can you tell me exactly, walk me through something? Go search for it. That's what it's for. CGS says, where you been the last 2 mornings? Oh, that's a great question. So I had an emergency performance client this week, and so they, pay me to come in and do all kinds of stuff performance tuning wise. So I worked with that for, that was Thursday and Friday mornings. So Thursday and Friday mornings. And then I just goofed off in the afternoons. I don't know, why I don't usually feel like streaming in the afternoons. I like stream. I guess some of it's probably because my wife isn't up yet, that my wife isn't awake now, so I don't mind streaming now. But then in the afternoons when she's awake, I would rather go hang out with her if I'm going to do nothing. Oh, Panol, good to see you. Good to see you here. Absolutely. So let's see here. Santi, good to see you again as well. Santi, good to see you from India. Greg, good to see you as well. CGS said, did Helmut make it up to Portland? Yes, he did. I assume he did. I didn't hear anything back from the truck company. Now comes the nervous part of waiting for, I wish there was a live webcam in the company shop so I could watch Helmut being worked on. And I have 2 different things coming back. So I have the Helmut coming back eventually, probably in 2 weeks ballpark. They were supposed to start working on him not this week, but the week after. We'll see how it goes. Santi said, so you'll be moving from, and Abeck, thanks, glad you like the shirt. Santi says, so will you be moving out soon from this house? No, that's interesting. I wonder why you would ask that. My lease is up closer towards the end of the year. I want to say our lease is technically up in either December or January. And then, Neil, it's working okay here. I have the most unbelievable internet. It's just absolutely crazy. I should turn off my Wi-Fi, though. Hold on just a second. Let me just make sure that the Wi-Fi isn't on so that I don't have to worry about, just in case anything going wild and crazy with that. Necroduck says, who is Helmut? Helmut is my Porsche 911. I named him Helmut. And you spelled the name beautifully, too. That's exactly how he's spelled. Santi says, I think I read somewhere when you wrote you're shifting. Yeah, so when our lease is up at the end of this year, we're going to leave this apartment. I'm going to be here for another month or 2. We'll probably go month to month for January and February. But then right now, touch wood, right now, the game plan is for us to go to Iceland for 3 months. We've got the house all picked out. We've got full gig Ethernet going at this house in Iceland, so we're all ready to go there. And I'll be teaching my training classes from there. I'll do continue the live class season pass work, so we'll teach for 1 week a month, and then the other rest of the month we'll be driving around Iceland, seeing all kinds of sites. Abeck says, please say hello to my wife from Kazakhstan. Hello to your wife from Kazakhstan. So that's so what's going on with me personally there. So I had a good week work-wise. CGS says, I hope you have snow tires for Helmut for Iceland. We are definitely not taking him because especially it'll be in the middle of winter. We get a Toyota Land Cruiser when we're over there. Johnny, yeah, you're right. We've been over a couple of times. We spent a week in 2019 and then a month this year in February, March, and then we're going back for 3 months. Necroduck says, are you going to stream at 2 a.m. Iceland time? There's a very good chance for that because I'm just hardwired for 2 a.m., 3 a.m. when I usually wake up. So it does work out with my Munaza, can you use complete sentences? You sound like you're my drill instructor there. Agenda today, please. Just because you asked that way, I'm going to say no. You're on your own. Tioni asked a great question. Any possibility of getting constant care for European companies? So in the news this week, the EU decided that American companies don't have the right to yank EU data and bring it on in America without doing all kinds of complicated legal stuff. I'm a tiny company. There's me, my wife, and Richie Rump, our developer. And so we just simply don't have enough money to hire all the attorneys and accountants that it would take in order to be bulletproof legal with doing constant care in the US. What we would have to do is we would have to, thank you, glad you like the streaming designs, Neil. What we would have to do is host the constant care data over in Europe. We would love to do that. We would love to host it over in Europe, but it's just that we're going to have the fixed costs of having to run the entire constant care infrastructure over there. It's not something we're quite ready to do yet. If we did it, it would most likely be in 2021. The first thing I'd like to be able to do is get our streaming sales done for EU customers, do the streaming stuff. But with this week's EU ruling, I can't even do the streaming stuff. I can't put your email address and all that kind of thing inside databases in the US. I would be violating the GDPR. And so I'm just like, not even close to interested in it. D. Tovey says, streaming courses, please. What do you mean by streaming courses? Do you mean courses on how to do streaming? I'll never do that just because I'm not a pro at it, but I do write about it over on the blog. Neil says, please stream while Aurora is visible. You know, it's such an interesting question. So I had to make a decision years ago, in the UK for a sequel. Yeah, no, I can't because of your GDPR rules. Sorry, dude, go talk to your politicians, but it's just way too expensive for me to put that together. Yeah, Tione says we used to have it before GDPR. Yeah, it absolutely was a lot of fun. Hi, Dimitri, good to see you again. But Neil, about the question about streaming with the Aurora. So it's funny, I used to have all kinds of nice camera gear, and there came a point where I was like, I'm done bringing cameras on my vacations because I just want to absorb the place around me. I will still take pictures with my camera or with my phone, but I don't take anything more complex than my phone. So when we went looking for the Aurora, I'm like, okay, I'm not even going to bother taking a camera because I'm not going to bother, trying to get everything set up to shoot the Aurora. But now that we do this streaming stuff, now I'm like, well, I'm going to have my camera gear with me. I'm bringing it all to Iceland. So I might actually, it's an interesting that you say that. I might actually stream with watching the Aurora. So that's kind of fun. Okay, so let's see here. Did I catch all the comments going up on here? Oh, Abeck says coupons. Abeck? Sure. Why not? Because I can do that. All right, let's whip you up a coupon here real quick. Let's say, and I'm not going to show the blog UI while I do it just because it's going to show other coupons that like other customers have for stuff. And says, let me go put in. So what do you want a coupon for? Who asked for the coupon? It was Abeck. Abeck, what do you want a coupon for? Let's give you something fun just to give you one. Let's go add coupon. Or what is it that you're thinking about buying? And Santi says, better to have a shot on the phone instead of all the luggage with the camera gear. Can stuff some goodies in there. Yeah. Goodness gracious. I got a mute button now. I'm so excited with that. But Santi says, it was better to shoot it on the iPhone. Yeah, except you don't get a picture with a dam on the iPhone, so it's kind of tough. But the Aurora, it's so tough to get because it's all night photography. From what I've seen, I think the Android phones do a better job of night photography. But the Aurora is kind of faint. I've seen it on boats, on sailing trips. My wife has never seen it in person, though, so... Abeck says fundamentals of index tuning. All right, so let's say here you go, Abeck. So we'll give you, let's see here, that is a recurring product discount. I think it's a recurring product. We'll say 90% off, expires tomorrow. And that is for fundamentals of index tuning. Let's go find it, fundamentals of index. Fundamentals of index tuning, not the live one. Where's the recording one? Fundamentals of index, shoot. Fundamentals of index tuning. Get your credit card out. Fundamentals of index tuning. Where the heck is the replay only? There it is. Perfect. So there we go. And usage limits, we'll say to the first 10 people. Limit to one per user. Publish. So ABAC says, or for ABAC, so for fundamentals of index tuning, use the coupon code here you go ABAC. So use that coupon code here you go ABAC, and that'll be 90% off fundamentals of index tuning. I haven't tested, now it's just the replays, it's not the live class version. I haven't tested it, so if you get any errors with it, just shoot me, or like say over in chat. It's good for the first 10 people only. So there you go. You're welcome. Enjoy. If you don't ask, then it's not, it never hurts to ask, right? So I might as well give you something just for asking. Woo! David asked, is Clippy in the house today? So I'll show you something, only because, we're kind of goofing off here before we officially start coding. So I'll show you something. I'm going to go get something out of the closet that you'll get a laugh out of. Now, I have shown y'all in the past my green screen suit. I have a whole green screen suit that I'm working on for a Clippy costume, where I'm going to appear as Clippy live on camera. Well, I have something else that I've got in order to be Clippy, because Clippy always seems like he's a little cartoony. So I have something else here. Let me get this on so that I can go walk on camera with it. You know how Clippy's always like, hey buddy, hi, I heard you're querying the users table. Hey, maybe I could help. What can I do for you? Maybe you should create an index. That's the thing that you should do. So I have these hands. So I'm going to be totally decked out in a green screen suit. So it'll disappear when I shoot it from my main camera over here. When I shoot it with me on the background, it'll just be me and then my hands. You'll just see my face and then my hands. So that'll be a lot of fun. Richie says, R. Kelly better not be in the closet. It's true. That is my bathroom over there. So inside R. Kelly thing. What else did I miss? Any Starbucks cards left? I do have a giant Starbucks card balance. Dimitri says this is the way I want to spend Saturday. Yes, so this will be a lot of fun. You say it'll motivate Microsoft to bring Clippy back. It's probably going to be the opposite of that. They're probably going to really hate my guts when I do that. These are warm. This would actually be nice to wear in Iceland as winter gloves. So let me go put these things back. So yeah, I think I've got totally everything that I need for a Clippy costume. I think I've got my green screen set up. Looking forward to doing some more wild and crazy stuff with the streaming. Oh, I should also say too, so going out on the blog on Monday morning, I'll be releasing a post where I'm talking. So SEEP or Cape Mas, make sure you choose fundamentals of index tuning, only the replays, not the live classes, just only the replays. Neil says typing might be a small challenge. You're absolutely right. So I have to rehearse. I have to rehearse when I'm doing that, pulling the gloves on and off of camera. I've got to be able to do it on my desk without looking like I'm all kinds of jumbling around all over the place. But I definitely cannot type while I'm wearing those gloves. They're huge. I thought about cutting small holes in the bottom of the glove so that I could sneak my fingers out, but I think that might be beyond my sewing capabilities. Not that I have any sewing capabilities. Catalina Wine Mixer. Okay, that's an interesting name on Twitch. That's not bad. All right, so what are we going to do this morning? So what I'm going to do this morning is I am going to be live coding in Microsoft SQL Server. There have been 3 or 4 pull requests in the first responder kit covering SP Blitzlock, SP Blitz Index, I think SP Blitz Cache. There's an error that somebody filed recently on SP Blitz Cache. So I'm going to spend probably 45 minutes working on the first responder kit, take a bio break. Also, ABEX says the coupon is not applicable to the selected product. It might. Let me go try one thing. Let me go change one thing. We'll see, maybe cart discount, fixed cart, no, not fixed cart discount, fixed product discount. Let's try that and see what happens. Update. Okay, so ABEC, try it now. ABEC, give it another shot now, and let's see what happens. Actually, I'm going to go do a test order here real quick. Let's fire open incognito mode, brentozar.com training, and then let's go try to buy fundamentals of index tuning. What did I say it was? Here you go, ABEC, I think it was. Brent Ozar, Brento at brentozar.com. Don't enter my email, and I think it was here you go ABEC. Let's see here. Here you go ABEC, and apply coupon. Yep, yeah, now it works. Okay. Oh, wow, what? Now it's, oh, no, it's totally free. Screw it. Yeah, why not? There you go. ABEC, it's totally free. It'll just be the next 10 people only. That's funny how that worked. I thought it was a percentage discount, but now it's a dollar discount. So there you go. So that is totally free. I just tested it so I know it works. So the first 10 people, there you go. Knock yourself out. Let's go back and now over to my posts list just so that I got it. Richie says it's not going to make it to the Arctic. And Neil says it's free. All right, so let's get started on the first responder kit. Let's go see what's going on over here. So I have, let me go pull open the first responder kit GitHub repo. So we got the first responder kit GitHub repo. Oh, and you notice how I'm wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, and their logo, the 3 stripes are in green, but you see how it kind of disappears. The 3 stripes kind of disappear. Let's see if I move around. See how you can see stuff behind me? Kind of weird how that works. Okay, so we have these 3 pull requests. Let's see, which one should we start with? The top one is SP Blitz Who. The second one is SP Blitz Cache. The third one, it says SP Blitz Index. Oh, I know what that is. And then the fourth one is SP Blitz Lock. Holy cow, we got fixes for like 4 different stored procedures inside here. I'm going to do an easy one first. So I'm going to do this one. Good. Glad it worked out for you there. I'm going to do SQL. No, Greg says, can we do number 3 before I have to leave? Sure. So number 3 is SP Blitz Index. So I'm going to go pull open the issue so that I can show you the issue first. So in SP Blitz Index, when Clippy, our friend Clippy, files missing index requests, he gives us a list of columns to go index, but right now SP Blitz Index isn't showing us the data types on those missing index. So let's go back over to SQL Server Management Studio, and I always like to try to reproduce the issue first to show you the problem that people are trying to solve. And I don't think I put, oh good, I did. I even put repro code inside here so that I can show it to you. Let's go into the smaller stack. So let's go, I'm going to run a query 10 times that should generate a missing index request, and it did not. Let's try popping over, let me change one other thing about my server just to make it more likely that I get missing index requests, and then give that another shot just to see if I get a missing index request. Beautiful. Okay, so let's go make sure my indexes are dropped, do this 10 times, and then go run SP Blitz Index. So in SP Blitz Index, right now, the first result set gives you the list of indexes you already have. This right here is the part that I'm looking at that I'd like to fix. This part right here says, whatever the missing indexes are, what are their data types? As a consultant, very often I'm examining the output of SP Blitz Index from people, and Clippy's out there going, hey buddy, sure would like it if you indexed customer name. And I don't know what columns the customer name is. Like, I don't know if it's a varchar max, an nvarchar max, whatever. So I would really love it if that included the data type, because I often don't have this results. You're welcome, Eamon. Glad you liked it. So I don't have these results very often. So I said, can we put the index or the data types inside there? So that was the request for enhancement there. And I said, here's what it needs to look like. So Greg Dodd has contributed a fix for that. So it looks like he's added 3 new columns to a temp table. Wouldn't mind having another crack. I may make this compatible. So whenever I'm trying to review somebody's work, I like going over to the Files Changed tab, and this gives me a nice list of the original version or the current dev version of the code is over on the left. Over on the right are the changes that Greg wants to make. So it looks like Greg's adding a few columns to tables. Okay, that's cool. Let's scroll down. Now, what am I looking for inside here? The first glance when I do a code review is I want to see if things pass the sniff test, like does it make sense that someone would code it this way? And the 2 things that people often screw up are, 1, case-sensitive servers. Often they'll do upper lowercase variables back and forth, or they won't make the column names exactly match the system data types in SQL Server. Because most people don't have case-sensitive servers, but SP Blitz Index needs to work on case-sensitive servers. So I'm looking for wacko cases, and then I'm also looking for things that won't work on earlier versions of SQL Server. When I'm doing rapid-fire testing, like what you're about to see me do here, I usually only test on SQL Server 2019. However, I just want to get a quick glance and identify, did they put code in that doesn't work on 2008? We try to be good and still support SQL Server 2008 because it has really huge market share. 2008 and 2008 R2 are way higher than 2019. So I'm trying to support as many versions as I can. It's okay if they put things in. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. It's okay if they put things in that only work on newer versions. It's just that I want to make sure that it fails gracefully, that it doesn't throw out an error on 2008. So let's see what we got inside here. So he's adding, beautiful. So it looks like up there he's adding, whenever we're listing out the columns, he's trying to add those columns with the data types. He's added on, he's got a check in here for version type. So he's looking for the version number if it's greater than or equal to 13. 13 is SQL Server 2016. If it's greater than or equal to 2016, then he's adding in this other stuff. And I'm just going to take, actually, I'll move this around a little on the screen so I don't have to keep stepping side by side here. Let's move over to that piece right here. There we go. So let's see, let's just glance. Oh, that's still not even here. We'll move it over even further. Now look, Windows, quit being a dork. There you go. So let's see here. What else you got? Is in envar care. That makes me a little bit nervous, just because it's also not saying text and end text. And not that people use text and end text very often, but they're still technically supported. They're deprecated. They're just not technically supported. So got a bunch of L trim, R trims, which I'm fine with. All kinds of stuff, cross apply. Okay, I can't remember if there's a problem with that on 2008, but he's got this under 2016. String split, which hit in 2016, so that's good. I can see why he's set 2016 as his minimum version there. And CGS says we have lots of text in SQL Server 2012. So there's a lot of code inside here, and it looks like he's trying to fail gracefully on earlier versions. So let's go see what happens. Yeah, MR Franklin, you couldn't order the course from because you're from Germany. Well, maybe you should rein in your politicians and maybe not pass laws that small businesses can't comply with because it's very expensive. Or, do your thing. So let's go see if, let's see how this works with G.C's version. So G.C's version, let's go get his SP Blitz Index. Get the raw. Greg, that's a good point. Greg says, I don't think we need text because the code is just trying to show the length of the field. That's a very good point. You might be right. I like the way you're thinking there. So let's go get that. Let's get the contents of his query, and let's go put it into production, and let's run it and see how it works. So now I'm going to rerun the exact same stored procedure. What I'm hoping to see is that the location now shows the correct data type. And for bonus points, about me is actually an nvarchar max. So that'll be interesting to see how he handles that. So let's go execute it. All right, there wasn't an error. My standards are really low. And then now let's look and see. Oh, man. Oh. Damn. Missing index is null. Okay, so he's got a bug inside there. So this is where it's a little bit tricky being a maintainer for open source stuff. So when you're a maintainer for open source stuff, you're trying to balance two goals. One is that I want to get as many pull requests as I can of quality code that's good enough that I can at least take it across the finish line and run with it. I want to encourage as many people as I can to submit pull requests. On the other side, I also have to balance my own time, like how much time I put into testing other people's code. So, it's where do you draw the line? I'll give you the DBA Tools project. Those of you who use PowerShell, the dbatools.io team, they do a phenomenal job of catering towards the side of taking as many pull requests as they can. I have submitted pull requests for DBA Tools, and I don't even know how to use PowerShell, but at least I can go in and tweak some small things for other people. I don't test my code, though, because I just don't even know how it works. So in here, especially with our whole virus thing. So in that would be one way, is going over and aboard. They'll take your pull request and they'll go do all kinds of work. They're like refactoring a pull request that I did from scratch, doing all kinds of stuff. The other extreme is going, it's just me here trying to maintain this open source repo. So the other extreme would be me going, I'm sorry, Greg, this doesn't produce the results that I want, or it doesn't produce the results. It doesn't even show anything. It shows a null in this case. And I'm using the exact same code that I posted in the GitHub issue. This would be like the minimum quality that I would usually try to accept. Thing is, Greg usually does really good work. I've seen a lot of Greg's pull requests, so I'm going to take a couple of minutes to just see if I can see something obvious inside there. So let's go take a look. Now, the place that I'm going to go look isn't in the code because SP Blitz Index is absolutely ginormous. I'm just going to go try to look at the things that Greg was doing inside that GitHub diff that we looked at inside the website and see if I can spot the bug there. And maybe some of you can spot the bug. I'm going to guess that if there's a null, I'm going to guess that Greg's code has a problem appending nulls to something. So I'm actually going to write another test for it real quick. Well, writing a test is a strong word, because I know when I say write a test, that has very different meanings for me than it does for Richie. Now, you might remember that when we looked at the output earlier, it was an index on location that included about me. I'm going to guess that because about me is an nvarchar max, I'm going to guess that Greg might have a bug interpreting the output of nvarchar max. So yours are absolutely. Although I will say I have Apple HomePods and you don't. I'll also say I'm not sure if that's an advantage or not. So let's say instead of getting an nvarchar max column, I'm just going to do trigger a missing index on location, which is just an nvar column, but it doesn't include the nvarchar max. Let's go see if SP Blitz Index works correctly on that. And unfortunately, nope, no luck there. Okay, so in there then, I'm going to hop back out and we're going to go look at his pull request, and I'm going to look to see if I can spot whatever it is that he did that was an accident there. So I don't think okay, so he's putting stuff into a temp table. One thing that I could do is I could do a select out of the temp table and go see what the contents are of the temp table. Maybe he didn't get the stuff quite right inside the temp table. That would be one way to go and look. Let me keep going down. All right, one thing that makes me nervous is anytime you append Anytime you append values to a string, if one of them is a null, SQL Server will set the string to null. So what Greg's doing here is he's saying, case, when equality columns is not null, then add in this. Ooh, what's going to happen here? Well, what could happen is that if equality columns is populated, but equality columns with data type is not, then it'll say, "What? Hey, this thing isn't null over here, so let's append something else." And then that's what's going to break a problem there. Abhishek says, can't we use concat? Normally, I steer people away from things that aren't supported in 2008. You could play with that here, though, since Greg is already filtering for only a specific compat level. I want to say it was 2013 or 2016 he was searching for. So in here, this is going to trigger the problem of if we have a null inside this one down here, but this one up here isn't null, that will trigger the bug that we're looking at. All right, so I'm going to, rather than me fix it and go deeper, because I just have this general rule. I'll tell you what my general rule is. If I give you a bug report, if like I give you an assignment as a developer, and Lord knows I did not assign anything to Greg. Greg's being a wonderful volunteer. He's picking things up and running with it. Mello, go point. Thanks, I appreciate that. I'll check into that sometime. So if I give you an assignment kind of as a developer, and poor Richie's listening in on this and all of a sudden he perks up. Richie, it's different with you. But if I give you an assignment as a developer and I say, when this happens, I get this problem. You know, like I give you a tight repro and I say, if you run this, it reproduces the problem. And then you give me back code and I run the exact repro that I gave you and it doesn't fix the problem, my work is kind of done here in terms of testing. That's kind of as far down as I'm going to go. Neil says, go change this to 2 places. That might do it. Maybe it might, but then here's the next thing I worry about. I haven't even checked to see that he's populating the contents of those columns correctly. It's just the flat out null handling that's broke. So I'm going to hit the brakes here in terms of there are only so many things that I can do in the span of the 2 hours or so that we're going to work together trying to merge pull requests in. So I'm just going to go do a code review instead. Right, SQL Greg says, I don't think it's... Oh, SQL Greg is the Greg Dodds. Oh, welcome. Oh, you're wonderful. It's good to see you. Greg says, I don't think it's checking column 1 but getting data from column 2. If one is there, the other should be there. I know they should be, just like I should be attractive and wealthy and on the south coast of France right now, but that's not exactly true. And Richie's absolutely right. I do constantly break our unit tests. Like I don't even test my code in Postgres half the time. Someday when y'all hire a developer, you can lock him into a closet and make him write unit tests as well. It's probably not what you would do. All right, so let's say in here, let's do a code review. So we'll say review changes, and we'll do it line by line. So I'm going to say in here, we're checking one column for nulls, but using another. A couple of things might be a problem here. If one, well, actually, I'll just say it as Greg saw this on the stream, so he's going to dig into it. Add single comment, and then review changes, request changes, didn't work. Whoops, this didn't work with the repro that was on the issue, so let's give her another shot. Submit review. So now I've got the code review done inside of there. I'm not going to delete the pull request because Greg may be able to just make a couple of changes and then push his changes again, and then we may be able to use it exactly as is. So there's that one. So one of you, I can't remember which one. Oh, maybe it was Greg. Oh, that requested me to go do that one first. So there we go. Things that I would, so whenever I'm working on an issue like that, I also try to dump in, here are other things that we may need to look out for. I totally believe that. So I'm going to say in here, other things we may want to test to make sure it'll work okay. SQL Server 2016, but The database is in 2008 compat mode. Missing index requests with each of these in equality, inequality, and includes. nvarchar 100, nvarchar max, varchar 100, varchar max, XML, JSON, text, ntext, and then int, small int, or small int, big int, big int, and dates. That should do it. SQL Greg says the limit for 2016 was using string split. Do you have a workaround for that, which I could look at adding as well? I'm okay with that. I'm totally down with that. I'm fine with you using string split. That's totally cool for me. I'm okay with that. Let me go look at what you did with string split, because let me take a quick look and see what's going on with that. That was in here. And I'm just going to rename this just so that people know. SP Blitz Index, show data types on missing indexes. Welcome, not the DBA you're looking for. Good to see you again. Let's see here, string split. From string split inner equality columns. Oh, no, I love that. I'm totally down with this. I'm totally okay with that. I think that's fine. Yeah, thumbs up from me. I'm down with that. I'm of the opinion that I'm okay when this is a new feature like this. If other people on prior versions can't use this is just nice to have. It's wonderful to have, and I'm thankful to get the pull request. If it doesn't work, if someone wants it to work on earlier versions, they can figure out how to get it to work on earlier versions. As long as we fail gracefully, I'm totally okay with that. Okay, so there is the first pull request out. Let's go see. So the next one, I'm going to stop here for a second. Where the hell's my button? There it is. I'm going to stop here for a second to give a shout out to this week's sponsor. So Redgate just finished their State of the Database Monitoring Industry report for 2020. So in there, they asked a whole bunch of database administrators, what are the kinds of databases that you manage? What are the problems that you run into? How do you monitor for those kinds of problems? You can read about that over at brentozar.com/go/read it. Totally free. Anybody can go grab that and learn how your peers are monitoring their databases as well. Okay, so we've been going at this for a while. We've been going for 37 minutes. Let's stop here and take a short bio break. We'll take a 5-minute bio break. I will go refuel my espresso. I should warn you that it's going to be a little lively today, probably because I ran out of decaf espresso. So I'm only using real espresso. That's fairly unusual for me. That's very unusual for me. So it should be maybe a little bit more sassy than usual as well. So we'll take a 5-minute bio break, and we'll be back in here in 5 minutes, and we'll go on with the next pull request. See y'all in 5. All right, welcome back. Not the DBA we're looking for, says I see SQL Constant Care gets a shout out in Redgate's monitoring paper at 5% of the people using it. Yay! I was excited when I saw that too. It's kind of cool to see it and to see it continue to get market adoption when we really don't push it that hard. I don't blog about it that often. I don't push it on the webcast that much. But we're diabolically working on the next round of improvements that I think people in this kind of audience will find very interesting. If you're the kind of person who likes Twitch, live streams, gaming, likes seeing other people do gaming, I think there are going to be some improvements that you're going to like in Constant Care, and I know that sounds completely bizarre. So, all right, so next, what are we going to do next? Let's go take a look at the remaining pull requests and go see. Santi says, how many cameras do you have there? 4 altogether. I have this one that you're looking at here. I have one directly in front of me that shoots with the green screen behind me so that I can use the like the fadeaway looks behind me. Yo, Adam Saxton, welcome. And Adam's one of the people who got me inspired on using multi-camera setups there as well. And then also in your setup is bananas though, because you use higher quality of cameras. Then on my pause, and I'm going to put this on, and it's going to look like I'm going away for a second, but I'm not. On the pause, I have 2 cameras. I have a Logitech Brio pointed out my office window. So that one usually aims directly out my office window, but because it was dark, I aimed it over here. And then I also have an iPhone pointed out my desk that also shows up on the behind the scenes cameras. So 2 of them are kind of crappy, but then the 2 of them are really good. So coming back over here to the setup. So there you go. CGS says, I'm considering Constant Care because I'm tired of fighting with the other developers, make my network guys over what are make our companies go faster. Yeah, that for me is a lot about what Constant Care is designed to be, is to get a very fast, get everyone on the same page. And because it comes in via email, because the results come in via email, you can put whole teams on it. You can put distribution lists on there, and then everyone's completely transparent transparent about what needs to happen next. Santi asks, do you always stand and work? I always stand when I'm doing webcasts, but then as soon as webcasts are over, this is a motorized standing desk. So I'll just push the buttons so you can see it start to drop down. So it drops down then into a sitting position, and then from there I go back and pull a chair back out. I have a chair just on the other side of the camera. So. All right, so there we go. Neil says my setup is only a 3-camera setup, sad face. Well, but the nice thing with stuff like iPhones, I mean, just using an iPhone as a camera, you can get a used iPhone from like Woot, refurb iPhones for like $100, and then with a Mac, as soon as you plug them in, they appear as a camera source. So it's so nice because they have a screen built into them, so it makes it much easier for positioning backs behind the scenes type cameras. It's really useful there. Botsko says, is it from cameras? What do you mean? Tell me more about what you mean. Is it from cameras? Cameras from outer space. Okay, so we will go take a look now at our next pull request and go see. Oh, he says 2 rows above. I'm not sure what you mean 2 rows above. So plus 2. Richie. And Adam's absolutely right. You really only need one camera and a light and a microphone, and that's like it. People care about you and what you're broadcasting. Botsko, I don't see your earlier questions. I have a UI that shows me a whole list of stuff. You may need to answer your question or ask your question again. So I don't see the Twitch chat. I use Restream. No, don't apologize. You're a wonderful person, and I like having you around. You ask really good questions, so. And I know sometimes I go on a hair trigger, but I love you. You're good people. I mean, I don't really know you, but so yeah, it's CGS. So why didn't you go live from Mexico? Because in Cabo, Mexico, I'm going to show you the map. So if you look at a map of Cabo, Mexico, Cabo is in a very interesting place. 2 turntables and a microphone. Cabo's in a very interesting place. So this is where I love to go in Mexico. It's right down at the very tip of that peninsula. And the internet there is terrible. It's just really bad. It's either satellite, which has really bad latency, or else it's landline, but then it has hardly any throughput at all. So when I go there, I don't disconnect. I still do things like, oh, that's cool of Google to put the thing up there on the top. So I love it. It's a beautiful place, one of my favorite places in the world. But ironically, you get much better bandwidth at Iceland. Iceland, there's gig fiber frickin' everywhere to houses. Houses get gig fiber, symmetric gig up and down for like $30, $40 US per month. It's amazing how good the bandwidth is there. Okay, so queso, cheese, get it? Oh, it's terrible. Okay, so here's what we got next. So we did 2227. Now we've got, this one's super easy. So I'm just going to go knock this one out. So what this one was, I'll go open it up and show you the issue. Oh, he didn't put the issue inside there. Let's go link it over from, Lewis says, I guess I'm moving to Iceland. The problem is it's really hard to get work permits there. It's spectacularly hard to get work permits there. Which number did he say it was? 2482. So the bug in this one here, SP Blitz Cache takes a sort order parameter. So when you want to find your most resource intensive queries, do you want to find the ones that are the top 10 by CPU, the top 10 by duration, the top 10 by reads, by execution? There are all the ways that all the kinds of different ways you can sort the plan cache. There's a sort order parameter that makes this magic all work. Well, when ADBA, Adrian, I believe his name is, who's a wonderful contributor also, just like Greg, when Aid was using it on a case-sensitive server, he didn't get the results that he was expecting. And as he drilled down into the source code, it's kind of funny how this works. So, and I'll show you the source code for SP Blitz code so that you can kind of get an idea. So we'll go open up SP Blitz Cache. And with SP-Blitz cache, let's go down to where the parameters are at. So here's SP-Blitz cache. Oh, good luck, Richie. Try not to break the hip or anything today. Ooh, and I wonder if you're doing it inside or outside, because that would depend whether or not it was hot yoga. So SP-Blitz cache has this parameter sort order, and depending on what you pass in, we do different stuff. So in order to do that, we have to examine the contents of sort order. So I'm just going to do a Control F for sort order here and jump down to where we start using it. Let's go back a little. Is there a quick, easy way to find the previous one in here? There is. He says, ugh. So here's an example of how we handle sort order. So depending on what you pass in, we send that into the order by inside the query. Well, you notice that these are all lowercase. There's probably a reason for that, right? Because if I go in and I look, find previous, find previous, find previous, let's go find up. It's got to be way up inside here. Actually, let's go all the way. See how it says lower inside there? There are going to be places where we have to worry about the sort order and its case sensitivity. If I go way back up here, up and around line 2000, I believe it is, lower, and I'll see if I can do it this way, sort order. See how we're having to handle all these cases? Well, you know what we should do is we should just set the case, set the order, or set that sort order thing to be lowercase right from the get-go. Why don't we just set sort order to be lowercase right at the beginning of the stored procedure, and then all throughout the case of the store, all throughout the contents of the stored procedure, we can examine it no matter what it is, as long as we're smart enough to use lowercase inside here. Some of you may remember, not the DBA was just typing that, some of you may remember a few weeks ago when I was doing a stream, I went through my blog post queue, the things that I need to write at some point in the future. And one of my blog post ideas was everyone in their life needs to work on an SAP database. Sooner or later in your life, you need to work on a database that hosts stuff for SAP. Because they're terrible. Oh my God, they're awful. They're so bad. They have thousands of objects in them. Object Explorer doesn't work. The names don't make any sense. They're letters and numbers. They have nothing to do with the contents of the data itself. They're case sensitive. Adam is like, absolutely. It's awful. But the first time that you do it, you'll have a new respect for what it takes to build stuff like open source. Yeah, SQL Dev DBA, you're absolutely right. That's true as well. Not the DBA you're looking for. You're absolutely right there as well. So we would lose a lot of people there out of that. Now, Adam, you said is your bane, and you spelled it in an interesting way. The bane of my existence is B-A-N-E. And I'm guessing that you don't know, but you were actually making that cool joke that B-A-I-N is the Batman thing, which is the tie-in. They're saying bane of my existence. Bane was Batman's bane of existence. So it's kind of funny how that whole thing worked in. Yes. Oh, it's just terrible. Rite of passage is another good way of saying it. So that teaches you when you go to write stuff like SP-Blitz cache. Oh, you knew. Oh, very nice. That nicely done. So that it teaches you all these things that you have to do in terms of defensive programming. I like that. Sure ain't pretty. That's probably true. So in here you might say, well, why don't we just at the very beginning do a lowercase of sort order? Well, a long time ago, somebody actually did. But look at the line number. The line number is all the way down at 1091. Well, that's too late. Yeah, hey, Beck, I talked about that in the beginning. It's because this Black Lives Matter shirt has green stripes as the logo, so it ends up kind of showing me kind of being transparent, which is kind of funny. And I'm going to use that to my advantage with a green screen suit here one of these days. I've got the green screen suit already in the closet. So the problem is we just put this in the wrong place. We just put it way far down, and we probably should have put it way higher up. So let's go see. So that's what the bug is, and this is what I almost said Bane. What Adrian stumbled across is that he went to go use query hash, but unfortunately we start handling query hash way too high up in the stored procedure before we've set it. Yeah, Adam says, yes, floating head. Because Adam's here, I'm going to show this. Because Adam's here, I'm going to show this. I'm going to go grab it out of the closet because he's going to find this amusing. I have already got off of eBay, not eBay, Amazon, a whole green screen suit. You can get these surprisingly inexpensively. Now, obviously, I'm not going to put it on, but I'm just going to kind of hide behind it. So totally floating head. And what it is, let me switch over and show it over here. What it is it's a lycra green suit, even complete with a hood that goes over your entire face. So you can just cut out the parts that you want. And so I'm going to have just my face, just the face part peering out of here, and then use those white gloves that I showed on earlier. Very fun. So the things, you should see the things that I had in my Amazon suggested purchases after I bought that. It was like, oh my God, I want to. Oh. Well, Adam, the first 5 years of my green screening were terrible. Just awful. It was really hard to do. But then also my audio sucked, my camera sucked. It's always it's a growing and learning process. It takes a while to get right. But I just love that Elgato's dropping green screen. This is just phenomenal to mount on the wall or ceiling. It's wonderful. Your invisibility cloak. Yeah, exactly, Shamble. That's exactly what it is. So, coming back over here, a random guest to find it in your house. One of these days I need to do a tour of my office closet. It is unreal, the stuff that I've got inside there, just bananas. And my wife really embraces it too, just my interest in buying oddball things for the stream. So what Aid decided that he wanted to do in order to fix it? Let's go look at his code and see what he decided to do. So he said, let's move the sort order earlier in the proc. Let's go look at the files changed. I just love how GitHub makes this so easy, which is right here in the web. I can go see what he did. So he moved it all the way up to, she is good people. She embraces it and runs with it in a hilarious way. So he moved it all the way up to line 756. Just to double check, I'm going to go look at line 756 and do a find for sort order and see if it shows up anywhere earlier. So we'll say sort order, or I'll go all the way up to the top. We'll go straight up to the top of this, hit Control F for sort order, and then go see where the first one is. Now, obviously, it's in the beginning params. That's totally okay. Here, it's the help content, where if you pass in a parameter for help, we tell you what the instructions are. Then down here, that's also still in the help. 756, there it is. So there's the first place that we're handling sort order. So I'm okay with this. This looks good as a fix. In this, I'm not even going to test this code. I'm completely okay with it. What I could do for bonus points is I could add, I could go find all the places where we're doing lower sort order, and I could just remove them because they're not really helping us at all at other points inside the code, but screw it. I'm just going to ship this and roll with it. I'm going to say review changes, looks good, approve, and submit. Then I'm going to merge that pull request. I'm going to assign Adrian. I don't know why I call him Aid, because I'm certainly not that, we're not that on that good of terms that I would know what his nicknames are. This was a bug. It was a bug in SP Blitz Cache. And then we're going to put it in the milestone for this month, for August's release. I'm going to merge his pull request. And then I'm going to go back and to the issue itself. And so assign him there as well, just because I like people to be able to track which issues they were involved in. The pull request that was linked, here's the pull request. And then over in the notes, I'm going to say, great job, merged into dev, will be in the August release with credit to you in the release notes. Close and comment. Now I have to go update our post with the release notes. So I have over here in WordPress, I have the release notes for next month's release. I start a draft post in the beginning of the month whenever I'm going to go work on first responder kit stuff. And so I'll scroll down to SP Blitz Cache. So here we go. Oh, I've already added it in. Oh, I added it in when I saw the pull request. So there we go. Oh, Shambil, thank you. I appreciate it. Welcome to the club, Shambil. All right. So we've got that in our release notes. We are good to go. Let's go see what the next one is. Let's see what our next pull request is. So the next pull request, Aid, we'll do Aid's next one too, just since we're in here. So Aid says, do not accrue wait time for sleeping SPIDs. This is very interesting. So let's see here. The issue number, is that the issue? So he says, and I'll take a sip of my tasty beverage while we both read those notes. Okay, cool. I love that he gives a little repro script there. Let's go ahead and assign him. Not me. And then we'll say this is a bug in SP Blitz Who, and then we're going to stick it in the milestone for this month's release. Now, I always like to see the bug first before I go check the fix. Not always. I didn't in the last one, but let's go see the bug first. So Adrian said, go start a transaction and SP Blitz Who will show waits piling up. So let's write a transaction. Let's write some blocking. We will say, go make this bigger, make it easier to see, begin tran, update DBO users, set reputation equals reputation plus 1, where ID equals 26837. Go. So I'm taking out a lock to grant myself a reputation point. Now we'll go over into another window and we'll go run select star from DBO users where display name equals Brent Ozar. Let's go see if we can select our data. We can't. We can't because I'm being blocked. The other session has a lock on adding a reputation point to me. So now I have two sessions that are open here. I'm going to move these out so you can see them independently and scale down the font just a little bit here. So over on the left-hand side, that query isn't waiting on anything. That query started a transaction. He hasn't committed, but he's not waiting on anything. The query on the right is waiting for a lock. So in terms of performance tuning for wait stats, there are no waits really happening in the session on the left. There are waits happening on the session on the right. So what Aid is saying is that when we look at SP Blitz Who, which shows us which queries are running right now, SP Blitz Who goes in and shows you which queries are running. The top line is the one on the transaction that's doing an update. He shouldn't be waiting at all. But if we scroll across to the right here, oh, that's the bug right there. It shows that we've been waiting on a lock. It's actually got a couple of bugs there. You see how it says 47607 and it doesn't even show milliseconds? That's kind of goofy too as well. So let's see what Aid's fix is. So we've verified that it really is a problem, and let's go see what Aid's fix is. So let's see what his pull request difference is. And I have no idea. I haven't looked at SP Blitz Who's contents in like a year, maybe more. I don't even know where those numbers are coming from. So we'll be both learning together as we go through and look at the changes in Aid's code. Let's move it around a little bit so we can see both of them on here without me blocking anything. I always love that it's derp inside here. Left-hand side is the original version. The right-hand side, thanks, Cav TV. Welcome to the club. Over on the right-hand side, these are the things that he changed. I like it. Where status is anything other than sleeping, then put in the wait types. Right now, my transaction that was over on the left is sleeping, so he shouldn't be incurring any waits. Okay, is that the only thing that he changed? Looks like there's another one down here. So that I'm fine with both of those. Those both look good. Remember earlier when I was talking about code reviews, I said I'm looking for things that cause case sensitivity problems, and I'm also looking for things that don't work on other versions. It looks here like we're safe on the board across both of these. I don't see at a first glance anything that's going to cause problems across other versions or case sensitivity issues. So let's put his changes in place. To do it, I wish this is one thing that I wish was just a little bit easier in GitHub. I wish there was a jump for me to go get his raw file straight from here. I wish that I could go into here and say like view or edit file. But when I view file, if I remember right, it takes me to mine, not his. If I do the raw, oh no, it does. Oh, raw. Yay. Oh, that's fantastic. So we're going to copy that out. Then we're going to go put his new version in place on my server. I'm going to put it in the master database to override the one that's already there. And then let's run spblitzwho again. The thing that I'm looking for is that lock wait shouldn't show up on the update. Let's see how it goes. And yes, that's fantastic. That is not, I'm in the wrong window. I am a moron. Let me go over to that window, and there it is. That is phenomenal. And of course, I end up with Gowabunga's thing right on top of it. Let me move it around a little. There, let me figure out how I can. There we go. So that works beautifully. That is fantastic. We will take it. And it didn't seem to break the other one, too, which is kind of good. All right, good. Let's take it. I will go stop my query and roll back my transaction. Roll back. No, that wasn't your bad. That was me not knowing. I'm using Zoom It Live for the first time, like the one that lets me continue to type while I'm zoomed in. And so I'm still trying to remember how all the shortcuts and like moving the screen around type stuff works. So that is, as they say on TV, magically delicious. Looks good. And approve. Us Americans, we probably use too many exclamation points. Ill will, that's a great question, and I'll answer that in a second. Let me do the pull request, and then I'll answer that, and we'll talk through it. I'll show you a demo to show you the differences between them. So let's change this over to be assigned to Adrian. Then let's call it a bug in spblitzwho. And then we will say the milestone is this month's release. And then we will merge the pull request, confirm the merge. And that worked. Let's go say thank you to Adrian. Looks good. Thanks for the pull request. Merged into the dev branch. Will be in the August release with credit to you in the release notes. Close. And then we'll go over here to our release post. And so the changes, maximize this here, changes over here, we'll say changes in, also got spblitz lock changes coming, so I'll add another one. spblitzwho changes, fix, sleeping sessions no longer show as accruing wait time. Number 24. I can't remember if it's 2465. Is that the poll? 2465. 2465. Thanks, Adrian B. And I got to go look at Adrian's last name spelling because I don't remember. So let's get his aid. And that is Adrian Buckman. Okay. Buckman. There that goes. Paste. And there we go. Okay, so let's save that, and now I'll go answer Ill Will's question. So Ill Will asks, are there any differences between spblitzwho and spwho is active? A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, when Atom Mechanic first released spwho is active, it was copyrighted, and technically, if you wanted to obey the licensing, which I'm all about, if you wanted to obey the licensing, you couldn't install it on customer servers. You had to have them install it. Well, I needed something that I could just bundle inside a download that any customer could go grab and then start running. And I also needed something that I could install on customer servers. And all my stuff is licensed with MIT license, so you can do whatever you want with it. So eventually, we ended up having to write SP Blitz Who. We tasked Eric Darling, was the one who originally wrote that. So we had him write that as like a drop-in replacement for Who is Active. We made it much more simple because, of course, Adam had a lot of years invested in SP Who is Active. He also performance tuned the daylights out of it to make it insanely fast, even under high concurrency situations. Well, years later, Adam open sourced SP Who is Active, and I forget which license he used, but he no longer works with SQL Server much these days. He works with other database platforms. So he open sourced SP Who is Active. Now I use both. I use both SP Blitz Who and Who is Active. The things that I like about SP Blitz Who is it's better for real-time query tuning. Who is Active, for me, is better for real-time emergency troubleshooting because Adam has performance tuned that thing like to within every inch of its life, whereas we haven't really done that much performance tuning with SP Blitz Who. The things that I like out of SP Blitz Who is it'll show you things like resource semaphore memory issues way easier. It'll show you parallelism issues way easier. Who is Active shows you blocking issues better, in my opinion. So I think they're both good. I end up using both of them. Now, I won't do a demo for that. That pretty well sums up the differences between the two. For a while there, we don't really do that much active development on SP Blitz Who anymore. It does the work that it needs to do. And Adam's the same way with Who is Active. He doesn't really do active development on there either. You're welcome, Eviatar. All right, let's see what the next pull request is. See what we got inside there. So the next pull request, we'll close that window. We'll go over here. And then the SP, okay, so we hit that one. This one, the SP 2452 SP Blitzlock object names with periods. This is so funny. So SP Blitzlock will show you deadlocks, and it uses the extended events default trace, the extended events default system health session. Wish there was a short name for that. SQL Server by default logs all kinds of deadlock info inside there. Well, unfortunately, the built-in deadlock info that comes out of that event session shows table names incorrectly when they have a period in them. And I should put that pull or the issue up over here so that you can see it. If you have table names with a period in them, or our database names with a period in them, then the built-in deadlock report shows things incorrectly. This isn't a bug with SP Blitzlock. It's actually a bug with SQL Server. And you can pretty well guarantee, good morning, you can pretty well guarantee Microsoft is not going to fix that anytime soon, going back through all the different versions of SQL Server. We just introduced too much risk. There's not really a reward to it. The only time that you care about it is when you're trying to parse those deadlock reports programmatically, like what we're doing here. ABEC, no, we don't. I don't work with Azure SQL DB at all. And nothing against it. I think it's wonderful. It's just that the problem is Microsoft can yank support for DMVs and columns at any time, and they have. So I put a lot of work into supporting some of the queries like SP Blitz Cache and SP Blitz Index on Azure SQL DB, only to have them fail just out of nowhere because Microsoft changed something behind the scenes. I can't drop everything and go make fixes for stuff like that. I'm like, when Microsoft publishes a change log, when they publish a list of things that they change and when, then I'm in 100%. But since I don't know when things change, they won't tell us, they won't give us any kind of preview, and they won't give us a recap after it's done. I can't invest my life in supporting that, unfortunately. I mean, I encourage other people to do it. I'm like, if you want to do that, you're welcome to. Stupid T-SQL tricks, yes! Oh, that post is so awesome! That's when I do things like tables with, or databases and tables with spaces as the names. That's very good. That was a ton of fun. So let's see. So I've reproduced this bug, but now unfortunately I'm going to have to reproduce it. Traveling snail, correct. You're absolutely right. So if I want to reproduce it, I'm going to go build a fix for it. Let's see here. So let's see, let's see if all the way down. Wish to hear what you think of the solution. Okay, so it's a slightly different solution because of the All right, let's see what the solution is. Let's see what this file change looks like. Ooh. Okay, so the things that I'm looking for is case sensitivity and stuff that's different in different versions. I don't know what this is, associated object ID. I don't know if that casing is right. We're going to have to go in and take a look at some of these variables. Let's page down. Okay. Paging down again. Paging down again. Paging down again. And select distinct. Select distinct from deadlock. Oh, okay. All right, that's cool. So this looks okay. It doesn't look like it's going to blow chunks across different database versions. This all looks okay. There is an ever so slight risk that someone doesn't have access to a particular database, because see how it pops in and does a use, execute MS for each DB, and then it's using the databases that are involved inside there. Ratnala says there's not much clarity on the screens. Well, you may not understand how SQL Server works, so just kidding. No, you can also zoom in. You can use a higher definition screen. I'm broadcasting at 1080p. I actually use 4K on my desktop. I just can't stream that way, obviously. Okay, so what am I going to do? I'm just going to go ahead and take this and go see. I'm going to go take his script and go see if it works on mine. Let's go take it, view the file, get the raw contents of it, go put it in on mine. Oh, before I put it in, I need to demo the bug to make sure that I can see what the bug is. Now, I have a blog post on deadlock site, brentozar.com. I have a deadlock, and let's see here, how to create deadlocks and troubleshoot them. So I've got a little blog post here about how you create and troubleshoot a deadlock. Let's go copy this out and paste it in inside here. Let's close all of our other stuff. Let's actually close everything. No, don't save anything. New query. Now this bug is all about database names with a period in them, so we're going to have to create one. We'll say create database, test blocking, and go. And then use test blocking, go. And then let's create the table. Let's start a transaction. Then I'm going to start another window. And I'm going to do something else over here. Copy, begin transaction, begin tran, go, and execute. Then over on the left-hand side, I'm going to run this. This is blocking. Right-hand side, I'm going to make the deadlock happen. I'm going to count down from 3, 2, 1, and then I'm going to hit execute over on this side. Within 5 seconds, we're going to have a deadlock. So 3, 2, 1, execute. Don't know when it's going to happen, but within 5 seconds, we'll have a deadlock. And boom, one on the right-hand side was deadlocked, so he loses. Now, let's go look into SP Blitzlock and see what we get. So let's start a new window, SP Blitzlock, and execute. There's a chance, oh good, yay, it actually showed the deadlock, so that's good. So now, what's the problem with SP Blitzlock here? So here, the problem with SP Blitzlock all comes down to this piece right here. The database names and object and schema names are all screwed up because we've got this database name with the period in it. So here's the problem that we're trying to deal with. SP Blitz index commands here show the wrong database name. Obviously, the database name isn't DBO, the schema name isn't L, and the table name isn't FD. So let's go try Adrian. No, this isn't Adrian's. Who is this? I should know their name. Say my name. I want to say it was DEF CON that submitted the pull request. Let's go see. So Philip. Oh, yes, Philip. Oh, he's had a couple of good pull requests recently. So Philip, let's get Philip's code and then put it in and see what Philip's code does. Put it in the master database, and let's see, big money, no whammies. And yes! Oh, well, wait, no, oh. So close, so close, so close. Table name L.FD and R.ID. That might have been from another test, though. See, look at that. That's a different database name. That's actually a different test. That's not the deadlock I just did. That's where I had periods in the table names. Oh, so he might still be okay. Now, you'll notice that the one we just did, though, isn't in there. That isn't unusual. Sometimes SQL Server doesn't flush deadlocks out into the extended event session for some time, and sometimes we have to go do a couple more deadlocks in order to trigger SQL Server to go do it. So let's go do a couple more deadlocks. Let's move this over to the right-hand side. So let's do this again. We'll say over here, commit, and commit our transaction. Let's start it again. Begin tran, update. There we go. So now we've got another deadlock in there. Let's go see if SP Blitzlock shows it now. And come out over here. And it's looking good. And it looks magical. That is fantastic. I love it. It's absolutely perfect. So here it shows the correct fully qualified database name. It's also working beautifully with periods inside the table name as well. I am happy with that. As they say, ship it. Now, I didn't test it on a case-sensitive server, and I didn't test it on SQL Server 2008. So a note here about my testing. When I'm accepting other people's pull requests, what I'll usually do is just get a very quick rough idea of, does the code pass the smell test, and will it at least work on 2019? And if it passes both of those, if it works on 2019 and passes the sniff test, I'm like, I'll just merge it into the dev branch. I do another round of testing on 2008, 2012, 2014, 2016, 2017, named instances, default instances, as I get close to release, but I just don't do it day to day as I'm working with each individual pull request. I am a terrible developer or open source maintainer. So in this, it looks good. Jim, welcome to the club. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate it. So in here, let's take his pull request. I'm going to say review changes. I only did a cursory look at the button. I know what you mean. Like every one of these platforms has a slightly different way of subscribing. I only did a cursory look at the code, and I didn't check to see whether it works on case-sensitive servers, but I did test it on 2019 with databases and tables with periods in the name, and it works. And we'll then approve it, submit our review, and then back over on, whoopsie daisy, we were right there. We will merge the pull request, confirm, and then we'll go back over to the issue, and we'll say, oh, I think I was assigned to that issue. Oh, no, that's good. Thomas, welcome to the club too as well. Man, all kinds of y'all are jumping in here today. Thank you. And it's always nice to get subscriptions too. Those of you with Amazon Prime, if you have Amazon Prime, you can connect your Amazon account to your Twitch account, and then you can get free Twitch subscriptions there as well. When you subscribe to channels on Twitch, they get a monthly revenue too. Doesn't cost you anything at all if you have Amazon Prime. It's totally free, but then it like gives us something back to encourage us to keep streaming. Frankly, I'm going to stream whether you're here or not. So we're going to set this as the milestone. I'm going to thank Philip. I'm going to say, looks good. I merged it into the dev branch, and it'll be in the August release with credit to you in the release notes. Thanks for solving this. I know it couldn't have been an easy problem. At least it wasn't for me. Ha ha ho ho. And comment. Now let's add this to our monthly release notes over here on our post with the release notes. We'll say fix. Now databases and tables with periods in the name. I'll say before. Databases and tables with periods in the name wouldn't show correctly in the detail results. Number 24, what was it? 2452. Close that guy. 2452. Thanks, Philip. And then let's go get his last name. Paste that in there as well. Lady Melville, thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome to the club. Thank you very much. Philip, let's see here. Philip's last name is Cornelison. Oh, good. It's up in the title bar. Cornelison. And then link to him over there. Paste and save that. All right, very cool. Life Extinguisher. Oh, that's a funny name. That's cool. Okay, so is that all of our pull requests other than the one Greg's working on? It is. Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. Love it. That's wonderful. That's a perfect breaking point. Okay, so we'll stop here for a minute. We'll go take another bio break, and when we come back, I'll do open Q&A. If there's anything that y'all want to ask me about SQL Server, we'll do, any subject is totally fine. We'll do an open Q&A, and then after that, I'll go look at my blog post queue, and we'll go figure out what blog post I'm going to write. It is 6:42 a.m. here in San Diego. You've got me until 8 a.m., so you've got me for about another hour and 15 minutes because my coffee shop downstairs opens at 8 o'clock, and I'm going to go down there, especially since I ran out of decaf espresso. Go down there and get myself my regular bagel and coffee. Yes, I cough because I have asthma. No, don't worry about me catching corona. You should worry about me catching corona. Lord knows I worry about it. We're totally paranoid in this house. I am masked up like nobody's business. I wear gloves when I leave the house, even for anything. I am super paranoid about that kind of thing because I do have asthma, so it makes me more vulnerable should I, heaven forbid, catch COVID-19. J. Cole, what is the purpose? The flavor. Because I've already had, by this point in the day, and I wake up this energetic, strangely, but I've already had four shots of espresso, so it doesn't make sense for me to continue to get more of that, but it does make sense to continue to drink something tasty. And I would drink like espresso all day continuously if it didn't continuously just tear your stomach up and make you a, angry dinosaur. I used to, when I telecommuted out of Houston, I used to live in Houston, commuted, or worked for a company in Dallas, but I lived in Houston. And I telecommuted. I would work out of Starbucks every morning from like 6 a.m. till noon, and I would drink 4 quad venti Americanos, and they called them Mocha Valencias, so they had like 6 shots of syrup in each one. Oh my God, between the espresso and the sugar, it's just unreal. And then one day out of nowhere, I was like, I'm really angry by like 11 or 12 in the morning. I'm like not a happy camper and I'm not friendly to be around, which is really weird because I'm a super laid back guy. I'm like as mellow. I'm like the Jimmy Buffett of SQL Server, totally mellow, laid back, anything goes. But then you get enough caffeine in me, and I was like, I was a real jerk around 11 a.m., 12 a.m., and all of a sudden I understood that I might have a problem with caffeine consumption at that point. Holy moly, something must have been broken around the following piece because there's all kinds of stuff coming in through there. All right, so we'll take a 5-minute bio break, and then we'll come back in here and talk about blog posts and open Q&A. So we will be right back. All right, welcome back. So a quick shout out for Redgate for sponsoring this week. Redgate introduced the 2020 State of the Database Monitoring Industry Report. You can go download that totally for free over at brentozar.com/go/read it, where they talk about what kinds of database platforms people are using, what their administrators face in terms of challenges, and how they're monitoring to make sure those problems don't strike and cause all kinds of ugly problems. Darren Davis says, thanks. Hi, Brent. I'm enjoying your content. Great. Thanks. Glad you like it. I appreciate that. And then right as I was leaving, a whole bunch of following alerts came through from bots. And I'm watching them oh, dang, something's gone terribly haywire. So I just turned off notifications for new follows in here. So that'll just make that go away. They could even still be happening. Who knows? David asked a question. Recreating the new clustered index of a 50 gig table. When I'm recreating a clustered index of a table, does SQL Server need an extra 50 gig of data space or 50 gigs of space in both the data files and log files? One of the best pieces of advice that I ever got was from Paul Randall. Paul Randall's an icon in the SQL Server community. Paul used to work for Microsoft on the storage engine team. I don't know if he started as a developer, but worked his way as a developer up into management. One of the nicest, smartest people you will ever meet. And Paul gave me a great piece of advice. Paul said, and I don't know if it was me or just that I heard him giving it to somebody else, but Paul said, when you ask a question, the first thing that you want to think about is, could I reproduce that myself and find out for sure? How hard would it be for me to reproduce it? Because you're better off doing a demo than you are asking the question. And it's nothing against that. I'm going to do the demo to show you. But off the top of my head, just whenever I get questions like that, my first thought is, can I build a demo to prove it? And what would that look like? Well, so to prove it, I'm going to need a table that's fairly large. And I'm going to need no or not much extra space inside the database and not any extra space inside the log. And then let's go see what happens. So let's use the Stack Overflow database to go find this out. So in here, I usually keep 3 different sizes of the Stack Overflow database on my server. I keep the full-blown Stack Overflows 350 gigs. 2010 is just a 10 gig database. 2013 is a 50 gig database. I'm going to see just how much empty space I have left in this database. I think it's probably got a lot of empty space. So it's probably not going to be a very good example for this demo. So in here, see, he's got 30 gigs of space available, so it doesn't really make sense to use this database. I could restore it from scratch. It would just take some time for me to go do that, but I'm not going to bother playing around with that. So instead, what I'm going to do is, let's go look at the 2013 database, and let's see how much space he has. He's got 4 gigs left. Let me try restoring him, because he's small enough that I can restore pretty quickly. And even if there is space left, what I'll just go do is I will go create an index in there that'll burn up the rest of the empty space. So what you're going to want me to do is you're going to want to drop the clustered index on a table and then recreate it. So let's just start typing while this thing goes and does the restore. And the restore is probably going to take about 60 seconds. I'm going to type out the kind of project plan for this. So as a reminder, the question is, if we redo a clustered index, and you specifically said, let me go back and make sure that I got it right. You're saying recreating a new clustered index. So I'm going to say if we need to create a new different clustered index on a 50 gigabyte table, do we need 50 gigabyte space in the data file? Do we need 50 gigabyte space in the log file? All right, so let's find it out. Let's see if the restore is finished. Nope. Okay. So the first thing to find it out, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the table. Then two, I'm going to go create a new clustered index. And this is going to be a little tricky because everything in the Stack Overflow database, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm not even going to pick a table. I'm going to create a new table. I'm going to say, hi, Sharon. Create a new table with a clustered index, and then create a different clustered index for it. Oh, that's going to be even more elegant. Oh, I love where this is going. Okay, so my restore has finished. I'm going to go take an existing table, and let's find out what are the biggest tables inside this database. And I'm not looking at how much empty space is in there. You're about to see why here in a couple of minutes. So to figure out what the biggest objects are, we're going to say SPBlitz index mode equals 2. Yeah, Darren Davis, you're a little late. We talked about that in the beginning of the webcast, actually. It's not your fault. Not everyone can show up to work on time. Some of us are real busy. Of course, I'm giving you a hard time. It's the weekend. There's no such thing as being on time. So if we scroll, so SPBlitz index mode equals 2, what this does is it gives me an inventory of all of the objects in the database. So I'm going to pick one that's large. I don't have one, I'm sure, that's exactly 50 gigs. I'm just going to choose one of the larger ones that's inside here. I'm going to scroll across over to the size columns so that I can see, because of course for this question, size matters. Oh, it's so terrible. So I'm going to look for one that's fairly large. So up top, we got a 20 gig one there. I think I'm going to go with the 20 gig one up there. So we've got a 20 gig one up there. Let's go see what he is. So that's the comments table. Let's go see the comments table then. So let's say select into, well, we'll do a create table. Let's go look at the structure of the comments table. So the structure of the comments table is, it's got an ID. Oh, it's beautiful. It's nice and short. So we'll say create table, DBO comments for, who asked the question? Let's see, it was David. Comments for David. And this is going to have an ID int, creation date, date time, post ID int, score int, text, and varchar 700, user ID int. Then we're going to put a clustered index on it. I'm not going to do anything like unique or a primary key for the purposes of this demo. I'm going to say create clustered index, CL creation date on DBO comments for David P. That's going to get old after a while. Creation date. So we're going to cluster the table on creation date. Then we're going to go insert all the rows into it. Insert into DBO comments for David P. The ID, creation date, post ID, score, text, and user ID. Select. Get all those columns out. Copy. Paste. From DBO comments. So let's go load that up. It's going to take a little while because it's going to insert 20 gigs worth of data. So while it does, I'm just going to keep typing what the rest of my comments are going to be. So the next thing that I got to do is I got to go recreate the clustered index. I don't remember off the top of my head if I can create with replace existing. I'm not exactly sure if that works on clustered indexes. We will find out. So we'll say create. Oh, he's going to choke him down a little on speed there. Clustered index, CL creation date, on DBO comments for, for David P. ID with drop existing. I forget what the name of that is. Drop existing equals on. And let's see. Oh, Santi. Oh, that's funny. Oh, Santi, good catch. Santi is one of the very sharp people around here. Santi, I need to make sure to have like a special filter for you when you talk because I need to pay closer attention. Santi always asks good questions. So let's go look at SP Blitz Index Mode 2 on the 2013 database. Just to see. So on the 2013 database, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and use comments even though it's only 8 gigs because it'll still teach us this story. So let's go create the table in here and then let's go insert in. Actually, I'm going to change my clustered index name just a little bit. Drop table, DBO comments for David P. I'm going to drop this just to make it a little bit more intuitive. CL. And then there we go. Execute. Do the insert. And then while that runs, we're going to go do this. I don't know if it's with drop existing equals on. I bet Santi knows because Santi's pretty smart like that. I always kind of like to challenge myself to see if I can get something to work without, or see if I can get the syntax right without looking at the documentation. I love looking at the documentation, but just in case. Let's see when that finishes. Then the next thing that we're going to go do is create the clustered index. Before I do that, I'm going to want to look at the database. So look at free space in data file log file. Then look again. Oh, so I really need to look at several things. What do I need to look at here? I need to look at data and log file size and free space across both of those. So let's copy those and we'll look again at data and log file size and free space. So how do we go look at the file sizes? If I remember right, there's an SP space used. I can't remember if space used. I can't remember if that shows both the file size and the free space. Let's go find out. And of course, my SQL Server is going to be chugging along super slowly because it's trying to do this big, huge insert at the same time that I'm doing streaming and all these other things. That's not quite so good. That only gives me the database size and unallocated space. I really want to see on a file by file basis. Now I could use the shrink file UI, but I'm going to try something else instead. Let's go Google. So let's say, Dimitri says, why not use the data usage from reports? Dimitri, I always forget about that. That's not a bad solution at all. So I can come over here. Close this guy. And no, I hope I didn't leave this thing in a 16 core VM, because if I have a 16 core VM, that's going to cause me problems. I'm going into Task Manager just because he's so spectacularly sluggish that I'm wondering if I don't have another problem. Oh yeah, I did. This is a big monster 16 core VM, and so I know I'm going to have CPU problems when I go and do big queries like this. I'm running this on a pretty beefy Mac Pro desktop. I forget if I have 24 cores or 32 cores or what this thing is, but when VMware builds a really wide VM, VMware Fusion builds a really wide VM, you have CPU usage problems. And especially because on a table this size, it should have been done long ago. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. So let's see here. So we were going to look at reports because Dimitri pointed that out. Let's go look over at reports and then standard reports and disk. It's not that. Disk usage. Yeah, exactly, Dimitri. Every now and then it kind of backfires. Usually I just leave it as a 4-core VM, but I totally forgot before I did this webcast to go back and change it. Disk space used by data files. That's pretty good. I'll take that. Auto growths are also going to cause me problems. Well, it'll be good enough to shoot. It doesn't show the log files. All it shows is it does show the log space usage up there, which is kind of cool. It only shows the percent though. It doesn't show the size. That's good. It's just not quite good enough. Okay, so let's change it then. Let's go run a query and let's Google for SQL Server file size empty space query. And I always have a guess that usually Pinal is going to file up. Let's see if Pinal has a good one here. How much free space do I have in my database? Don't worry, Pinal, it's not your website that's responding slowly. It's my poor VM that's just absolutely getting murdered. Ooh, I love it. Yes, Pinal's absolutely perfect here. That works beautifully. So let's copy the code from Pinal like we all do from production. Ahmet, that's cool. Thanks. Greetings from Turkey. You're not even the first person from Turkey. There have been one person already. Pinal, and thank you, Pinal, for doing that. So here, this gives me, this is one of the things that I really love about Pinal's blog is when I'm looking for code that I need to copy paste in quickly and find the problem, I usually go directly to SQL. Anytime I see SQL Authority in the Google results, that's the first place I jump into because I know it's going to work. Just like here, it did. So here it gives me, for each of these, what my total data file size is and how much space is used across each of these. That's exactly what I want. Perfect. So when this, D-Weeby says this stream is entertaining. Thank you. Boopel, good. Boopin, good to see you in the club. Thank you. Appreciate it. So now David's original question was, oh good, so my table finished growing. So my for the plot. So David's question was, when I go and create it, am I going to need the space both in the data files and the log files? Well, right now, let's go back to Pinal's query and go look. Right now, and I'm going to rerun it because the transaction finished. Right now, I can't run the test yet as is. The test would work beautifully on the data files because I don't have much space left, but it wouldn't work as well on the log file because the log file already grew. So to fix that, I'm going to shrink the log file down as tiny as I can. I don't usually do this, but just to answer David's question, I find it interesting. So let's go shrink, say shrink files, and let's try to shrink the log file down as much as it'll go. I'm going to script this just because I may need to execute it a few times. And then let's go back and run Pinal's query and look at that. Perfect. Now my log file is down to just 250 megabytes. So now we're all set for the exercise. Now, what's going to happen? Well, first off, I don't even know that my query is going to run the way that we just wrote it. We're going to find out the hard way. So we're going to go run this and see if it works. I don't even know if it's going to work. Let's go execute it. It's working! Yes! It's working! Oh, yes! That's fantastic. So now the question is going to become, when this finishes, how much larger did each of the files grow? Now what I need to do is I need to save these results because these are the before results. So I'm going to hit save and I'm going to call this the before window. Then I'm going to copy all of this out, paste it in a new window, and we'll put this over in a new vertical tab group so that we can call this after. So the left-hand side is the before, right-hand side is the after. Now, I always like to guess before I hit execute on things. Oh, Sharon says, can you show the locks? It's going to be an exclusive table level lock because I didn't do it with online equals on or anything like that. So I always like to guess before I hit execute what's about to happen. Now, in the data file, I have to grow it because if I'm going to build a brand new copy of a, say, 8 gig table, I have to read from the old one and write to the new one at exactly the same time. There's just no workaround for that. That's the way that has to happen. There can be edge case shortcuts if there's off-row stuff that doesn't need to move. Off-row data, SQL Server may not pick it up and move it somewhere else. I don't know. It's been forever since I've done that. I don't think the comments table has that much stuff off row, so I don't think it's not going to be impacted. In the log file, I don't actually know. We'll go find out. But then after we do it, I'm going to show you something else, a new feature in SQL Server 2019, accelerated database recovery, and how that may perform differently. But let's go see. So if we come back over here, over on our initial query, our one that recreated the clustered index, that has finished. So now is the moment where we find out. Right-hand side, run it. And, well, it's kind of hit or miss here. So now we have 8 gigs, 9 gigs worth of free space in the data files. The data files have had to grow. You see that before that they were 14 gigs before. Now they're up around 16 gigs. You're going to need double the size. You're going to need the extra size of the object over here. The log file, it's not that bad of a story. The log file, we had 250 megabytes before. We only needed an extra gig in order to do it. So that's not quite so bad. I'll take it. So there you go. If you're doing a large object in production, like Pradeep just asked about a terabyte database, for example. If you're doing a large object like that in production, one of the best ways to go see it is to go do a staging copy of the database on another server and both time it and look at things like space utilization. So now we have our answer. But I said I wanted to look at, Zeus says, did it use tempdb to shuffle the data? It didn't because I didn't ask it to, but you can use sort in tempdb as well. Sort in tempdb is a switch that you can add. David says, thanks, you're welcome. Now, there's another feature in 2019 that affects this mix as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go blow away that log file again. Did I save that? I sure did. Let's try shrinking the log file down. And let's recheck our space usage. So now our log file's back down to 250 megabytes. I'm going to do this same process again, but this time before I do it, I'm going to go into, I don't think I can hit it via right click. I don't think I can hit it via right click. So the new thing, accelerated database recovery. Let's go see SQL Server enable accelerated database recovery. There's going to be an alter database statement script, and I don't know off the top of my head what the exact syntax is. And because, and of course Microsoft doesn't, remember how a minute ago I said that I always go to Pinal's site first, that I always click on the SQL Authority links? This is why I always click on the SQL Authority links. Because even in the official documentation, even on the big main page for one particular version, they don't always give you the scripts. So in here, I'm going to try clicking on the management link just to see if I get lucky. And yes, okay. So here we go. So we'll copy this out and paste it in. Pinal says, today I'm so happy. Me too, sir. Alter database current, which I love that shortcut, and I wish more people knew about that. We're going to turn that on for SQL Server 2019. And good morning, Jitendra. Good to see you again. So let's turn on accelerated database recovery. I wonder if I have to be the only user in the database. I probably do. Let's switch out our other databases. Microsoft quality is job one. Takes frickin' forever. Come on. Come on. Oh, you suck so bad. I'm going to have to use a use command. God, Microsoft, I swear. Oh, finally, perfect timing. Okay, now, after getting everybody else out of the database, I'm able to change it to accelerated database recovery is on. Okay, so good. Zeus, you have great memory. I don't even remember doing that. So now we've got it over in accelerated database recovery on. Let's go back over into our demo, pop it back over into the 2013 database, and then now let's go recreate our welcome to the club, Nitin. Thank you, I appreciate it. So now let's go change it again. This time, exactly, J. Cole, you're exactly correct. We're going to recluster it on creation date. So then let's recreate it. And what I'm looking for after I recreate it now, So this new feature, accelerated database recovery, what this does is it keeps versions of your rows inside the user database, not necessarily the transaction log. You'll notice I'm being a little vague here because I haven't done that much research into it, other than to just run a few quick demos and go, yeah, okay, it works. So what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to keep versions of your rows inside the user database, not in the transaction log, so that, did I get that right? No, I said that incorrectly. I said not inside the transaction log. I don't know that. It may fully still log the transactions. I think it probably does fully log the transactions inside the transaction log. It's just that the transaction log space is available for reuse as soon as your transaction, even before your transaction is committed, because SQL Server can use the copies of your rows over in the user database rather than having to pull them from the transaction log. So what we're about to see is, does that impact the size of the user databases, and does it impact the size of the transaction log? So here's where it was before we did our rebuilds. We were at like 250 megs. Now let's go over and do the new version. Let's switch over to 2013 and see the new version. Now, well, it's not, it's a little bit of a hit or miss story. So in here now, our transaction logs still grew by like a gig. Strangely, there's 155 megs still used. I don't understand why there would still be space used because I don't have an open transaction. Whereas before we had no space used. We had shrank it down to 250 megs, but did our data files grow? They did not. Okay, so that's kind of cool. So I guess in this case, it isn't really going to help you that much. It's okay. Let's see here. We had, what other questions came in during the break? Santi said, so should the same also be happening for non-clustered indexes true? Yes. How could we not use the tempdb for creating the same? Well, the problem is you have to have still both the old and new versions of the object in at all times. So you can use sort in tempdb. It's going to reduce some of the space required, but you still need both copies of the objects. Pradeep says, what is the best way to shrink the database in production if the size is more than a terabyte? Go read my blog, because just this week, literally just this week, I published a blog post about that exact topic. If you go to brentozar.com and click blog up at the top, scroll down, there's a post this week about shrinking multi-terabyte databases. So, all right, coming back up, let me see if there were other ones, because y'all asked a couple other questions along the way. Pradeep asks, hi Brent, regarding parallelism, does cost threshold of 5 only refer to CPU cost? I don't know off the top of my head. I've never heard that before. I don't think it's possible. I don't know off the top of my head. The thing that I would say is if you have a subtree that has a cost that's large enough to go parallel, I wouldn't be as concerned about CPU versus IO. It's just the big picture of, do you want that to go parallel or not? Like, I wouldn't try to micromanage that. Let's see here. Is there anything else that I missed in terms of questions? I think that's it in terms of the questions. Okay, perfect. Moshiko asked, do you use C# with SQL? I do not. I know that you can use C# extended stored procedures inside user databases. To me, that's just an unbelievably stupid idea. Because SQL Server costs $2,000 a core for standard edition. It costs $7,000 a core for Enterprise Edition. Application servers, which is where most people run C#, cost, let me carry the one, let me carry the other one. Oh, that's right, 0. Application servers cost $0 per core. So if you're going to write C# code, I think you should put it in the place where it costs $0 per core. That's just kind of the way that I feel. Mushiko says, what a nice view in the back. Yes, that is downtown San Diego, too. It's very nice this morning. The camera's white balance is a little weird. Let me play with that here for just a second, because I have to make adjustments in between daytime and nighttime that the balance gets a little different. David says, so when dropping a 50 gig clustered index, making the table into a heap, do you still need the extra space in the data file? That's a great question. I'm not going to redo that demo just because I know that, or I'm not going to do that demo just because I know that with this thing being at 16 cores, my performance is going to be pretty horrific to go through and do it. But you would, that same exercise you just saw me use, that's the exercise that you would go and walk through. Okay, so we've been going for about 30 minutes. Let's go shift. That's probably good for the open questions and answers. Let's go ship. That's interesting. Do sleeping sessions reserve or hold worker threads? No. Dimitri, have Neil ask his question again then, because I didn't see it up in the restream notes as well. I'll give Neil a second to re-ask his question. If the question has things like links, I may not see it. You want to keep it as short and clear as possible. Don't put T-SQL code in there, stuff like that. Han knew how to transfer SQL jobs to a new server. Use DBA tools. DBA tools. So if you Google for DBA tools transfer jobs, there's a whole set of PowerShell scripts to help you do it. Neil says, what's better in performance? Table 1, union 2, at an index, and So general questions like that, you never want to say, so with Neil's question, you never want to say which of these two design patterns is better for queries, because it'll change so much depending on your exact query. I'll tell you a great story someday. I'll do a webcast around when someone said which one of these two is better, and I said you can't tell, and I had to write 2 different demos to show when each one of the two was better. So rather than saying which pattern should I always use, what you're better off learning is, how do I measure a query? And the common ways that I'll measure a query, I'm going to go type it out. So the common ways that I'll measure a query when I'm trying to decide what's better, just to pop out here, how to measure a query. So set statistics, IO, and time on tells you logical reads, and CPU time, not really duration. Those are the most common ways that I'll go and measure a query. And if you want to watch me doing it, go to brentozar.com/go/tune queries. And there's a totally free webcast there. It's like 2 webcasts there where you can watch me comparing 2 queries against the other so you can see how I measure whether something's getting better or worse. Mashiko asked, does SQL Server work smoothly on a Mac? You can technically run it in a Docker container. I've had really bad experience with that. It's not SQL Server's fault. It's just Docker on a Mac has been just an absolute hot mess for me, so I don't do that. I tend to use a Windows VM like I'm doing here. I'm actually running, I have to learn from you on how to, watch those webcasts. A Life Extinguisher says, is it safe to fail over availability groups using PowerShell? So let me zoom back a little, and I'm going to say, is it safe to fail over availability groups at all? Like, when can you tell if it's safe? Whether I'm using the GUI, whether I'm using Availability Group Manager inside of Management Studio, whether I'm using T-SQL, how do I know whether or not it's safe to fail over? The first thing that I want to know is the target server ready? Like before I go do a failover, I want to know that the other server is actually in a safe place where I could actually fail things over to it. Because sometimes it's broken. Sometimes it's broken and people didn't even know. There's a memory problem. It hasn't allocated any memory, etc. Second thing that I want to ask is there anything happening on the current running primary that I need to wait to finish? Has someone, for example, started a big ugly transaction that's going to take forever to roll back? Is there a backup running? Is there a CheckDB running? Is there a data warehouse job that's running, etc.? So those are the first 2 things that I'll look at. Is the target server ready? And is there anything that I need to wait for? Now that I've said that, now you kind of understand why it doesn't have anything to do what tool you use. It has to do with you being the tool. You've got to go check those things first, whether you're using T-SQL, PowerShell, the GUI, or anything like that. Nothing like that is built into any of those tools. It's up to you as a database administrator to go check those kinds of things. That's also why you don't see a lot of database administrators using automatic patching, like any kind of system automated patching that will automatically patch servers when they're in a cluster or an availability group. because you want to make sure that there's not a backup running while somebody's trying to do a patch. Rolling that stuff back can be terrible. All right, there we go. Good. So we've hit, Zeus says, is 2019 still coming out with CUs for corruption? Yeah, out of the last all 5 cumulative updates so far for SQL Server 2019, 3 of them have fixed corruption bugs. So I think I might want to see, and I've literally just got done advising a client 2 days ago, that they should stay on 2016 rather than move to 2019 yet, just because I love 2019, a lot of cool features, but there have been a lot of corruption bugs, and I'm like, I'm not so sure about that. CGS says, are you confident in CU5 yet? I'm going to take a step back. And I'm going to say something that's going to piss off my friends at Microsoft. I'm not happy with 2019. I am actually very unhappy. I am very unhappy with the code quality in 2019. The CUs have had 2 problems. The CUs aren't documenting clearly the problems that they fix. And they've even put out CUs with 1-line fixes and then removed the fix. They've said, I'm sorry, just totally vanished that fix from the cumulative update. I have less confidence in 2019, I think, than I've had in any other version so far. Now, I don't have anybody publicly who's my client right now who can talk to the code problems they've had with 2019, but I will refer you to Stack Overflow. At Stack Overflow, they went to 2019 early on, and it has been horrific in terms of code quality. Like if you ask their database administrator, Taryn Pratt, on Twitter, she's Taryn Pivots on Twitter, she goes on every time they run into problems with SQL Server 2019. They can't still even enable scalar function inlining because it's having so many problems. Jack, glad you like it. So I've been very, very disappointed with 2019's code quality so far. I have hopes that it's going to get better. 2019 is the coolest release in a long time. There's a lot of cool things that they've implemented, but the code quality is the thing I'm a little nervous about. Yeah, Bobby Failover talked about his PowerShell scripts. Code quality in the COVID area. Ill will, safe walking your job. Pradeep, I'm not wild about doing it as scripting because usually when you're talking about moving jobs from one place to another, you're talking about prepping a failover process where you're going to migrate from one server to another and you want to catch all the jobs at the last minute and you have so many other things going on. PowerShell just makes that way easier. Jack says, what about TempDB fixes or TempDB contention in 2019? I haven't seen that as an issue. I wouldn't be surprised just because they made those huge changes to in-memory metadata for TempDB in 2019. So it's possible. I just wouldn't be able to speak to it. I know that the TempDB metadata changes have had a corruption issue in those first 5 CUs, so I would just be careful with that. Okay, I think we've caught up there. I think we're good there. I think we're good on the questions. You're welcome, Neil. Absolutely. All right. So now we've only got 30 minutes left, and I'm probably not going to be able to, do a blog post, so I'll just keep going with open questions until y'all run out. I'll stop here and BDG, I'll hit your question in a second. I'm going to do a quick break and shout out to the Redgate team. So Redgate sponsored the webcast this week, and they just released their 2020 State of Database Monitoring report. You can go read that totally for free over at brentozar.com/go/read it, and it tells you what kinds of databases people are monitoring, the kinds of problems that they're running into, and what they look for when they're monitoring those problems. BDG asks, how about SQL Server and Windows containers? I don't see the problem that it's solving. I don't understand what the problem is that you go, oh, the answer is to put it in a container. I just don't see that problem for production servers. I totally get it for dev servers. Dev servers is another thing altogether, but for dev servers, you wouldn't run Windows containers. Why pay the Windows licensing costs? Just go run Linux containers if you want to run SQL Server in a container for things like DevOps, continuous integration, etc. But I've never seen the problem where I go, oh, the answer to this is to get containers containers and windows involved. I don't add that up. If you think you have a problem where you go, the answer is SQL Server containers and Windows containers, then by all means put that inside there. The next question was Mas says, that's what he knows. I call him, or he or her, what Mas says, should I migrate to 2019 or wait a few months to go to 2019? What I would ask for is, what's the problem you're trying to solve with the new version? Like, how urgent is it that you need a new version in place? And generally speaking, if you could hold pat for another 4, 5, 6 months, I would probably do that before going to 2019. If you had a gun to your head and had to go live on a brand new infrastructure now, like you bought the servers already, you're ready to go, and you're trying to choose a version, I would take 2017 all day before I would take 2019 right now. Zeus says, could we just switch back compat level to 2016? No, unfortunately, like we talked about those 5 things inside or 5 out of the 5 CUs, 3 of them had corruption fixes. You may not be able to choose which storage engine is writing your pages, so to speak. Neil, no, that's a great question, but no. Do I recommend transactional column store indexes in transactional systems? No, and the place that I'll go, I'm going to show you a webcast you should watch. If you search for Nico Neugebauer column store YouTube, you're going to find a bunch of webcasts that you can go watch. So search for Nico Neugebauer column store YouTube. And there are a bunch of webcasts you can go watch where Nico's like the world's most well-known column store expert, talks about where it makes sense and where it doesn't make sense. Also worst practices for column store indexes. And to kind of tip you off there, one of the worst cases is transactional systems. Mark, no, unfortunately, you can't migrate a database backwards. You have to pull all the data out and then insert it over into the older version. David, you're welcome. My pleasure. Let's see here. Was there any? Oh, Moshiko asked, do you do any other coding stuff but SQL Server, like web development or app development? So I used to. That was how I got my career originally got my career started back in hotels. Worked in the hotel industry, like front desk, night audit, managing hotels, and then switched over to developing apps in the hotel business. And just generally, so like big picture, really big picture in terms of life goals, I decided I wanted to make a lot of money. I know, don't judge me. I decided I wanted to make a lot of money. And in order to make more money, I don't know a lot of developers who make a lot of money. They do okay. They do not bad. But if you want $1 million as quickly as possible, development is probably not the answer, unless you're going to work for yourself and you're going to build your own app. That's a little different, but it's also one hell of a gamble. Development, you can work the rest of your life with a secure salary. As long as there are, keyboards that take input, you will find work as a developer. The world will always need developers. It's an amazing job. It's like set for life. But if you want to get to the point where you're making $1 million a year, development is a tough row to hoe. To do development, you'd have to work for somebody like Facebook, Google, and you got to have really high-end development skills. In the database industry, it's more common. It's not super common, but it can be done. And so I just decided that I wanted to go down the database realm. So I left the whole web development and app development world behind. There are a lot of things that I miss about it. I miss being able to build something with my own hands and have users run it. Database people, we don't get that experience. We're just empowering other developers. Sanjay asked, hi Brent, how can we calculate the baseline performance of TempDB and SQL servers? Any proposed tools that you can propose? Well, sure, there is a company that happens to make a tool like that. And if you go over to brentozar.com/go/read it, you can read Redgate's study on it sounds like I planted this question. You can read Redgate's survey of the entire database performance monitoring industry, and you can see what kinds of tools people use. And that'll give you a good head start on seeing what the big tools are that are out there. So that's exactly where I would go. Bobby Tables, may I ask for a quick favor? How do I quickly find unused indexes and the worst performing indexes? Oh, sure. Okay, so Gowan Bucket says you can reply to fake questions. Yes, over there in chat, Phyllis asked, how are you so handsome? Okay. So for how you find indexes that aren't being used, so if you go to SP Blitz index mode equals 2, get all databases equals 1, what this will do is it'll give you an inventory of all the indexes across all of your databases in a format that's really friendly to copy paste into Excel. And when you copy paste it into Excel, you can sort by, ta-da, reads. So there's a total reads column. You can sort by reads. You can filter for only objects that have 0 reads but do have writes. So this is a really easy way to go through and grab that. SP Blitz index mode equals 2, get all databases equals 1. Another thing that I love doing with this is I also love to go over to the rows and reserved megabytes column, and I'll sort by that as well, because often folks have no idea what their largest objects are, how many rows they have, and how much size they have. And often it's things like caching tables that people didn't even realize are old archive type tables. I wish that I could just click on this thing that says rows or click on this thing that says reserved megabytes. You would think in the year 2020 that I would be able to sort by that. But evidently that's a little too much to ask for in a database product. So I have to copy paste it into Excel. I love Excel. Excel's just magical. It's just utterly fantastic. I can't get enough of that. Little Bobby Table says, so tables with primary keys with 0 reads. How do I tell the BI guys? In terms of how do I tell, here's my favorite thing for that. If you search for Brent Ozar consulting lines, garam masala, the answer is yes, absolutely you can. If you search for Brent Ozar consulting lines, I've written a whole series of blog posts, and this was like 5-10 years ago, about lines that I say all the time as a consultant, in like how you deliver good advice to people, how you deliver bad advice to people, all that kind of thing. So if you want to know how you tell them, this is how you tell them. There's so many lines in there that I just absolutely love. All right, so there we go. So let's see if any other questions come in. Otherwise, I will go hop downstairs to my office. So are none are rude? It depends on how you interpret rude. It's, the people, I try to be as politically correct as possible. CGS asks, is Erica a technical or computer person also? Not even a little bit. Not at all. She's insanely smart. She's one of the smartest people that I've ever met, and she'll figure things out really easily, but she doesn't want to be a computer person or a technical person at all. When I met Erica, it was at a company that I went to work for. She was the receptionist. And I've told that story on another stream about how the whole company would go out and party together. But she was the receptionist, and then we ended up getting together. She has been worked for an airline as a crew scheduler, and then worked her way up into the FAA. She worked for the Federal Airline Administration, I think it's called, or Federal Aviation Administration, as an air traffic controller. Worked as a manager or office manager for a medical malpractice law firm, and then eventually when our company became large enough, I was like, okay, can you come work for us and be our office manager? So she manages things like our contracts, insurance, invoicing. But it's just nice because we both live together. We've lived together since, 2000? So we've lived together for like 20 years. Now we live together and work together out of the same apartment. We've been together doing that for like maybe, 5-10 years now. And it's really, no, Erica comes with me, obviously. Erica was the one that we decided to go to Iceland. The whole Iceland thing was really funny. Erica says one day, she's like, I'd like to go to Iceland. And I was like, well, that's odd. Like, I don't know that, I've never really thought about Iceland, but okay. And she goes, we should check it out. And I'm going to move this a little so that my white balancing gets a little better, or my lighting gets a little better. She said we should check it out. And so we're watching like National Geographic traveler specials on Iceland. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. We'll have to check it out at some point. That weekend, I get an email from SQL Saturday Iceland, and they're like, hey, would you like to come speak with us? I am a really big believer in fate. Like when things happen just at odd coincident times, I'm a huge believer in fate. And so when that happened, I was like, we're going to Iceland. That's it. These things all happen in the same time together. We are absolutely going to Iceland. And Debonair Sage says, why Iceland? It's gorgeous. Oh, thanks, Mom. Cynthia Hines is my mom. Everyone, Cynthia Hines, that's my mom. My mom, who loves to tell everyone that she taught me how to read, which is true. Mom was, I should say, especially because she's in here, Mom was a stay-at-home mom who took very good care of me and my sister, didn't do homeschooling. We went out to schools, but got us really started in the whole love of reading and learning type thing. And made really good granola. As long as I'm embarrassing Mom, I should just go on and on, right? So let's see here. Fate, aka Mike, was that a Google app? Yeah, right, exactly. And Dimitri says you live a dream. It does feel like I'm living a dream. It's pretty awesome. Right now we're doing well. Touch wood. But why Iceland? Another one of you asked. You're welcome, Mom. Thank you, Mom. Why Iceland? It's gorgeous. It's just jaw-droppingly gorgeous. When this webcast finish, go to YouTube and search for Iceland 4K. And there are tons of films on Iceland people shot with Yesla. That's right. I remember that. That's funny. And you had the little story of when we were building granola. It was like a whole pile of hills. It was like building the oats and all that kind of thing, building up on hills. Little Bobby Tables, thank you. Good. Welcome to the club. Mom does have stories to tell. Yes, absolutely. I'm trying to think of what would be the funniest story that Mom could tell. At some point, I'm going to bust out all my high school and college photos. I used to have, oh, that's okay, little Bobby Tables. You can unsubscribe and resubscribe again. I'll thank you every time. That's totally okay. I used to have shoulder length hair. I thought in my mind that I was going for Kurt Cobain. In reality, I ended up looking like a mushroom. I don't know what else would be too interesting on short. It's always tough to think of things right away. But okay, so let's see here. That's probably good. I think I've caught up everything on the questions. All right, well, I will go place my order with my coffee shop downstairs. Actually, I'll go do that now in case any of y'all come up with questions. Let's go place my orders. Let's see here. I will go get, and you can't, I don't want to show you my order because I think it's going to pop my credit card confirmation up here at some point. Square and Achilles. Oh no, Sanjay, absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why in a second, Anjay. Let me put my order in and then I'll tell you why I would never make it paid. So Achilles Coffee Roasters. And we'll get a large pour over. We will get decaf because Lord knows I've had enough espresso already this morning. And then let's go get our bagel and lox. There is that sandwich. And I want an everything bagel and I want, heaven forbid anyone come in on the stream at this moment, heirloom tomato and cucumber. I will get 2 of these because my wife will want one as well. And then change the tip. I'm a huge believer in huge tipping right now. Restaurant staff are basically first responders. So I've been tipping just absurd amounts of money. There we go. And place my order. And just so that way they start working on it when the place opens at 8 o'clock. And there we go. Okay, cool. So back over. Sanjay asked, any plans to make the first responder kit paid in the future? Never. It'll always be open source, 100% open source. And it's funny, if you're going to build something and you want lots of people to use it, the first ugliest barrier to adoption is making them pay. If you want to make them pay, all of a sudden you have a long road uphill. If you're going to build tools like the first responder kit, just give them away. Same thing with DBA tools like the PowerShell stuff. If you give it away, even when you give it away, people won't use it. It's really hard to get people to adopt something, to get them to use something. But one of the cool things about scripts, stuff like the first responder kit, DBA tools, etc., is that they really serve as advertising for your brand. If you give them away free tools, like imagine carpenters don't have the ability to give away free hammers and saws, but imagine that they did. Imagine that there was a carpenter shop in your city where you could go and get a free hammer and a free saw anytime you wanted. Would that make you a good carpenter? No. The part that's hard about building stuff isn't the tools. Any moron can go down to the hardware shop, go buy a hammer and go buy a saw. But if you look at the furniture they build, they would look like just butt wind. I mean, they'd look absolutely terrible. But if there was a carpenter shop that gave away those tools for free, maybe they were lending them like a library, or maybe they just gave them to you permanently, you would remember that's where I go get the hammer and saw. And after you build enough crappy stuff, you'd go, you know what? Those people, they also sell carpentry services. Maybe I should talk to them. And that's exactly how the first responder kit works. I get a ton of consulting revenue based off of the first responder toolkit, where people run it and then they go, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed with the contents of this. I should go call someone. Why don't I go call the person who makes those tools? And same thing with training. With training as well, businesses often go, our staff have been using your stuff for so long, we should just hire you in for training. So I will never make the first responder kit paid. Everything that I do that's a tool, I'm going to give you, you're free to use it. And you know what's really crazy? So you know SQL Constant Care? I'm going to tell you something really bizarre. SQL Constant Care is our kind of paid monitoring tool. I want to get to a point where that's free. I want to get to a point where SQL Constant Care, you install it, it starts sending you advice via email. I don't even want to charge for that, because I can run and host it inexpensively enough that adding on additional servers doesn't really cost me that much. I want to be able to have a free tier where y'all can go in and install this so that it alerts you when you don't have backups, when you need a patch and all that kind of thing. So that I want to get to the point where we're there. We're still probably a year to 2 years away from that. But that gives you an idea of how aggressive I am with the free stuff. The more that I can get the brand out there and get people using the tools, the better. So Curtis Brown asked, are you, and Curtis, it's always good to see you. It's always great to see you. Curtis says, are you taking your car to Iceland? You know, it's really funny. So Iceland, if you're only going over there short term, if you're only going over there, and I want to say it's 3 months. I can't remember if it was 3 months or 2 months. But if you're going over 3 months or less, you can take a car over and keep your plates. Like I could keep my California plates on the car. And you don't have to pay a registration, but you got to pull the car back within 3 months. The cost of bringing the car over is so high. And the fact that we're going over in the winter, where it's not really that fun to have a Porsche 911 over there in the winter anyway, because it's really winter over there, we're not going to do it. But what if we live there longer? Iceland doesn't let you work remotely long term. Like you can show up for 3 months on a tourist visa, but you can't work for anybody while you're there. We would love to stay for a longer period of time. We would love to stay for 6 months, 12 months, and see it out. We love that country. Just totally. Then I would love to take the car in, because it's a beautiful place to drive stuff like Porsches in the summer. But Iceland charges you like 70% of the car's cost to bring it into the country. 70% of a Porsche 911? Oh my God, no. I mean, like I could buy a Porsche Boxster or a Cayman in Iceland for the cost of bringing a helmet over. So unfortunately, no. Bobby Table says, why a 911 and not a Taycan? Because I like a convertible. Then they don't make Taycan or Taycan convertibles yet. Let's see here. What was there other things that were inside there? Neil says, do you give a coupon every time? No, just somebody asked for it. I want to say it was Eamon or forget who it was that asked for it, but one person asked for it, so I gave one away. And that was it, I think. Oh, Inca says, do you still have a puppy? No, Ernie passed away 2 years ago, I think. Passed away 2 years ago, and we didn't get another dog because we loved to travel. Well, two reasons. One, we really love to travel, and having a pet makes it harder to travel because a lot of hotels don't take dogs, for example. The other reason, I love puppies, but the thought of toilet train or potty training a dog, I don't know. That's a tough one because we live in a high rise. We really like high rises, and it would be really. Oh no, that's okay, Anka. It's totally all right. It's not a problem at all. But yeah, the thought of potty training a dog at this day and age is really tough in a high rise. We get poop all over the kitchen, and we're CGS. I still have not seen Hamilton. I don't know how many people in the United States or world or whatever haven't seen Hamilton yet. I still have not seen Hamilton yet. And one of these days I need to. Having the sub isn't the problem. We actually have the subscription. We just haven't gotten around to watching it yet because there's so much good TV on right now. And I have the worst taste in television. Well, last night we watched Alone, which is one of my favorite TV shows about us being stranded out in the Arctic. We really like reality TV shows, and it's a reality show where a dozen wilderness experts are stranded alone out in the Arctic, and they move the location around from time to time. Stranded alone, and if you can survive for 100 days, you get $1 million. You have no food. You have to go figure everything out on your own. It's an amazing show. So caught up on that. And Holy Moly, the mini golf special. And I don't watch Hamilton. I know, right? Moss says, how old are you? In my 40s. I'm in my 40s. Rengarajan says, hi Brent, what's your advice on max memory, or where should we set the max memory? Go to brentozar.com and download my first responder kit, and I have a setup guide in there that explains exactly how to set max memory. So that way it'll tell you all kinds of other things too, like how to configure tempdb and all of that. And Mom Loves Alone too. Yeah, it's especially, this week's episode was another great one. Not enough people. I'm surprised more people haven't tapped out yet, that there still had like 7 people on in last 2 days ago's episode. That was pretty crazy. Raldo says, it's weird. I've used your tools before and just now finding you on Twitch. I've only been on Twitch. I don't know. What do y'all think? It was like January or February, I think, that I got on here. So it hasn't been that terribly long. So. And I really started because of the quarantines. When we came back, I was in Iceland. Erica and I were in Iceland on vacation. We came back when the quarantines hit. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to be here, at home for several months, I'm going to learn to stream. Because when Twitch came out, I'm like, who would ever want to watch video games? You're going to watch someone else play a video game? And then I watched someone else play Grand Theft Auto, and I was like, I'm in 100% because I love Grand Theft Auto, but I suck at Grand Theft Auto. So I love watching people who are good at something actually go do it. J. Cole asked a good question. Is this every Saturday when I'm able to stream? I have a blog post going out Monday where it's actually going to be starting every week, Saturday and Sunday. Every week, Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to stream from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Pacific, my time, the 2 hours before my coffee shop opens. So I'm going to do that Saturdays and Sundays, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Pacific. I'll have an iCal in the blog post on Monday morning. So like you can set up recurring reminders and all that. And I know, so like y'all are in here. Y'all are okay with the times, obviously, because you're here live. I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback from people who are like, I want you to stream during the week. I want you to stream 9 to 5. But I have a day job just like you do. And so I can't always stream Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Whereas I can do it on the weekends, like first thing in the morning. Hank says, thanks for working on Saturday and Sunday. I don't know that it feels like work. It sure feels like fun to me. As I would do this even if y'all weren't around. I'd be in here just talking to myself as I work on the first responder kit. Bobby Tables, it's absolutely true. I get way more people inside of this from Australia, England, the South America, Indonesia kind of areas, Philippines and all that, than I get darned for Americans because the Americans are asleep most of the time during this. So Bobby Tables says it's almost 1 a.m. here. All right, so that's probably good. It is 8 a.m. Pacific. I'm going to call it a wrap here and go downstairs and go pick up my coffee and my bagel. Thanks, y'all, y'all really make this fun. I really enjoy streaming because it's so much fun to hang out with y'all, see the same names again and again. It's lots of fun. Change your sleeping habits. Bert, where are you based out of? Because I see you doing like activity at odd times too as well. I'm not sure where you're at. I don't know if you got one of those names that it's tough to read, whether it's a UK name or whether it's an American name. My pleasure, y'all. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me. It's always fun. Matt Gamer says, what about Canadians? I love Canada. It's just that they don't usually say where they're at on the stream unless they're from either Toronto or Vancouver. Sometimes they say when they're in. Oh, you're in Laguna Hills. Oh, very nice. Very cool. It's a beautiful part of the country. I really love Aliso Viejo, the whole Orange County thing. It's gorgeous. Jay Cole says, when is Penal starting his stream? That's a good question too, because he is one of the funniest people when he streams, when he's on live and webcast. He's hilarious. He's so fast in terms of a sense of humor. We should ask him when he's going to start his stream. All right, well, thanks everyone for hanging out with me, and I'll be on tomorrow. I'm going to be on tomorrow from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Pacific as well. And Penal, you're scared of what? What are you scared of? Everything seems scary until you jump in. But all right, well, thanks for everyone, and I will see y'all tomorrow morning or next weekend, whichever. Can't match the quality. Jeez. Well, if you look at most of the other streamers, most of the streamers suck, if I'm honest. And I scared the first, I sucked the first 2 months. All right, so I will see y'all tomorrow. Adios, folks.